What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So in the last few months, I have been working on a Chevelle on and off. I've been working on other projects that are taking my attention away. And I've recently started going back to school and stuff, so I haven't had as much time to work on the patches of Chevelle. But I have been changing the driver's side quarter skin, and I didn't really film any video of me changing it out, and the rear tail light panel. I really didn't take any video of that. I really ain't had time to do it because I've only had a few hours here and there to really jump down and get some of that stuff done. But I did take a bunch of pictures and stuff, and I will show you what I did to put this quarter panel in. It'll be through pictures, and I will go through with a little clip of me just kind of walking you through what I've done, so you guys can kind of see part of it's finished, part of it is not at this point. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoy. And I'm sorry I didn't get to shoot any video for it. It's been kind of, my time constraints have been kind of hectic lately. But I hope this helps. And if you have any questions, guys, feel free to comment on the video and I'll do the best I can to answer them. Have a good one. So guys, as you can see, this is where I'm at with it right now. And this is a good spot to start this video, to do this video, since I ain't been able to make very much and I've got a little time today to do it. I'll just explain to you what I did to get to this point. And I've changed the rear tail light panel here. So what I did was to start with, along the rear tail light panel, I didn't really change anything on this side. This was all pretty good metal and it was all pretty straight. So what I ended up doing was, when I cut out the old tail light panel, I made sure that it was all from the ground above, from here to there, and in 3 different spots, that it was all the same measurements. And I gave myself a 1/16 of variance, right? From there to there. There is no trunk panel in there right now, as you can see. So there ain't a whole lot going on. So what I did was I put a brace in there, a little X brace, and I just spot welded it in to make sure that it wasn't going to move. And then I used a guide brace from the inside of the fender well on this side to the inside of the fender well on this side as a butt stop. So I know if I'm hitting that's exactly where this original panel was to begin with. And so when I made this panel, when I cut out this old panel, you know, I cleaned up everything on the inside, and then I galvanized and etch and primed a lot of that stuff in there, as you can kind of see. A lot of that stuff on the inside is galvanized and etch and primed to make sure that we don't have no future corrosion problems. And I'm still fixing a lot of the old bubblegum crap that they did, like right here. This was cut from this, whoever that guy was that did the body work before, he had cut this and it was really concaved in deep. And there was a deep lip right in here. So I had to cut this. You can see where I cut it here to relieve the pressure from here, because it was kind of getting a problem where it wanted to warp up in here. So I had to relieve the pressure to get this thing to straighten out. So, but I'm still got a little work to do in there. But anyway, so what I did was, and when I drilled these spot welds out, and I come here, and I started out by finding the worst part of the metal, which was down in here somewhere, and I cut that out all the way across here. So that I left like that much lip, 1/2 inch I think, all the way down. And it was the same here. I left a lip all on the factory metal all the way down, and then I cut it straight down this seam. And you can see here on these spot welds, those were where I had cleco holes. So there is a landing there that you can drill into and cleco this thing into place to hold it tight. So when I go to put this panel back into place, I made sure that these measurements, all of these measurements here, were all the same width all the way across, you know. And the same thing here, from the inside of the lip here to there, from here to there, from here to there, in 3 spots. I made sure that it was all the same width as the passenger side, so it would be symmetrical. Now these are the factory seam welds. This is where I had to cut the original panel, because the original panel wasn't quite formed perfectly to what the original car was. So I cut it here and then re-welded that seam up, and then I have spot welded it back where all the factory spot welds were originally. And then, as you can see here, I have welded up the cleco holes, and I got pictures of all of that. I'll show you where I clecoed all that together. So now I measured it from here to there, from the center down, and from the center down, give myself a 1/16 of an inch. Sometimes I had to take a jack and kind of jack this side up a little bit to make sure everything was right. So I had this cut with another 1/2 inch of lip all the way across. So what I ended up doing with that was I took the skin on the car side and I took a pneumatic flanger and I made a flange that was about 1/8 inch deep, I guess, flange. And I flanged it across, all the way across to here. And then as you can see here, these spot welds, that is where I had clecos in place on that flange. That's why I made sure that everything, the style line here, the style line that goes all the way across here, I made sure that all that stuff matched with the passenger side. And a good way I measured it was, so number one, you can measure it from, is down here at the rocker. There's a little gap there. Now on the other side, that gap it was a little thinner, and I was kind of confused about it. But come to find out that there's actually a little seal that they put there. Now I'm going to eliminate that because I'm going to blend it all in. I'm going to weld all that tight and smooth it all out so everything looks like one uniform piece of metal. But anyway, so that kind of got me a little confused, but kind of find out that the measurement was actually right once you deleted the seal out. And then so what I did was I took a cross measurement from here like that, and then from the center down, and I took note of those measurements in the wheel well, and then I measured it with reference to the other side, make sure I was really good and tight on that, so everything looked good. Here's where I deleted the turn signal for this side because I'm going to run it in a different spot, because I want the whole car to be smooth as butter on both sides. I don't want no decals, no nothing. So anyway, back to this. So same thing was here. The factory deal here, I had a flange that went across, and then I just scribed it on the back side with a scribe on the new panel, and then I cut the new panel to form to where I was here on this skin. And then I just took a body hammer and a dolly, and I just worked it until it all lined up pretty good. Now there were certain spots in here that kind of wanted to go doopy doop doop, you know, kind of wumpy dump, so that I had to take a jack, and I had to take a jack, had to put a bar in here, and I had to kind of work that metal up. And as I worked it up, I spot welded it all along the lines here, which I'll show you pictures of all of that. So then, but before I did that, before I spot welded it, but that's how I got this seam to tighten up here. This here, what I ended up doing is I had it clecoed in, then you had the seam here. So what I did was I scribed and marked, and then I cut this to fit that. So I cut this to fit here, and that made that seam nice and tight. I'll show you a picture of that. And then all I did was just come here and spot weld, weld little, you know, you can kind of see little ticks about yay long all the way down. And I made a big pattern of it where it was like, you know, I weld a spot here, then I'd weld a spot maybe here, then I'd come over here, weld the face a little bit, then I'd weld it back a little bit, and then I just made a big circle to keep the warping down. And then in here, I just tacked all that stuff together and made sure that this seam line here was uniform all the way down, was the same exact measurement. Now to get this seam here to work, you have to just be very meticulous on how you move the panel around, because that panel's got a lot of leeway to jump around. So right in here, you have to make sure that you keep your gaps. You have to make sure you keep your gaps here pretty tight, and make sure that the contours fit pretty good, because you can kind of see that this body, the contours fit kind of a certain way. So you have to make sure that this end, at least, the contours are very tight to the body, and fit the body perfect, because that's going to get this is what's going to get you started on getting you straight back here. Once you get this straight, get your measurements in your wheel well crossed up right, and get your measurements symmetrical to the other side, then you can start trying to locate this thing further in the back. Now these panels, I think I bought it from Auto Metal Direct, and I believe, and it was a pretty good, it's not the factory, it's a 20 gauge or 22 gauge panel. The factory panel was a 20 gauge panel, so it's a little thinner, not very much. At the end of the day, it's not going to really matter that much. But the biggest thing was, guys, is to make sure that I don't weld all these seams up. I've seen guys on YouTube and stuff that said they weld these seams up solid. Back here, I don't do it, because like I said before, this seam here, yes, welded. This seam there, welded all the way up. This seam down here and this seam here, welded up solid. Welded all the way across, get it nice and tight. But back here, you know, you've got this car is going to want to twist and turn and jostle and jibe and stuff, and you want to make sure that this thing has a little room to breathe, you know. So I stick with the factory spot welds, and you know, of course, right here, you know, was a Cleco locator. Where I located the Cleco to keep this stuff tight. So I welded that stuff up. I've got pictures of all that. So anyway, that's how I ended up locating this quarter skin and welding it in. And the tail light panel had a lot to do with that, as far as up and down, measuring from these 3 spots here, and making sure that the trunk lid closed and was fairly uniform. It's kind of hard to get it perfect right now because I still got to change this panel and the package tray. You can see this new panel for that. And I still have to fix this because this is all screwed up. It's still got a little belly here. I've got to cut this. I've got to work that back out and then re-weld it. But that's no big deal. That's a little bit of work. But anyway, guys, this is what I've been doing on the Chevelle. This has taken me literally probably 3 months to do, and only because I haven't really had the time to just jump on it, stay on it, you know. But incrementally, I've been able to get this thing done. I'm still need to do some finished welding. Some finished work on it, metal work. This here is actually a finished metal work. It just needs a little skim of Bondo, a little skim of body filler, and some covering primer, and that seam will be done. Turned out real good. I'm gonna do the rest and to every other seam on this car and its quarter panel to get all that tightened up real good. But anyway, guys, I'm sorry I didn't get to do any video of it. I really didn't have any time to do any video. Today is the first day I've actually got time, and you can see that it's wet. So, and I'm actually doing it after the rain. But anyway, this is what I did to change this quarter skin. Like I said, I've got pictures I'll show you along the whole process to show you what I've done. And all I can say is, guys, is that when you're taking this job on, especially if you're doing it in your garage or in your driveway like me, you know, because I'm a DIY, very low budget person, the biggest advice I can give you is make sure that you are taking your time and measuring this thing vastly more than a few times. Measure it every 30 minutes if you have to make sure it's where it needs to be. You measure, because if you mess up and get this thing too low or too high, then this style line right here in the Chevelle, all cars have it, but there's a style line that goes right across here and it bubbles out here to a really wide style. If you don't get that right, that whole car will look like wonky donk or concave like that, and the car will look really awkward, especially when you pan from one side and then you walk over to the car the other side. You're like, man, that looks kind of funky. Well, that's why I say take your time, measure, and it's okay to Carolina blueprint the other side, because you're, at the end of the day, you want it to be symmetrical. This might not look like a exactly factory 69 Chevelle the day it rolled off the showroom floor, but if you have it looking the same side to side deal where they look the exact same, it's going to be absolutely almost impossible to know that that quarter panel was ever changed, because you have a very symmetrical, very fluent car, and the craftsmanship and the work will be there. So anyway, guys, like I said, you DIY guys are out there. I deleted this. That not everybody wants to do that. I want the whole car front to back. I'm eliminating the drip rails. I'm eliminating the drip rails from both sides as well. So this is going to be cut off. And the car is just going to be smooth all the way down both sides. I don't want no BS. No, I don't want no emblems. I just want a really smooth look. So anyway, guys, I got a little off track there, but this is what's going on next. The next project is going to be putting in the inner wheelhouse panel. The outer warehouse panel, like right here. As you can see, I got it. It's kind of chewed up right here, and I had to cut this freaking wheel tub out with a Sawzall because it was gummed to death. So what the next thing to do is to put in the inner wheelhouse panel. The outer wheelhouse panel that goes back, you know, into here, you know, and then we can start working about trying to tie in the floor, the trunk. Right here, we still have to put in the lower trunk pan support that I did on this side in a previous video. That I did here in a previous video, we installed that. So I have to do that to the other side. And the inner wheelhouse panel being this right here, you know, that piece of metal right there, you know, getting that installed on the other side. So anyway, guys, That's the video for today. I hope you enjoy. I hope it helps. And like I said, guys, since I didn't have any video to help you get along, so like I said, since I didn't have any video to help you get along, I hope that you can get a good idea of what I had going on here and give you a better idea of how to put this thing in. So like, comment, and subscribe, guys, and we'll see you next time. All right, ready? Go ahead. Hey, boy, you got a stinky butt.
Thank you.